What's up, y'all? It is that time again where I take a second to finally sit down after a busy press launch week chocked full of riding and filming and...
No. You weren't there for this one.
Wait, I didn't go to this press launch?
No, you were on a roof for like a week.
Oh, that's right. We sent Luke. Hey, Luke!
No, Chase. It was the roof shoot. He's your camera operator. He was there the whole week. He was right next to you.
Right. So, did you cover the press launch?
When I have a chance to, I'm editing all the time.
So, if I didn't cover it, Luke didn't cover it, and you didn't cover it, then who did we send out from the channel to cover this press launch with Harley? So guys, due to some scheduling issues quickly populating dance cards, both Bo and myself were unable to make it out to California for the 2022 Harley Davidson Nightster launch.
And since both Chase and myself had already been to one Harley Davidson event each, we thought, why not let the NFG get his feet wet?
All by himself.
All the way across the country.
For a double header.
Don't f*** it up.
Seriously.
Oh, talk about trial by fire. You want to see some glory shots? Like Chase said, purely by happenstance, I got the opportunity to fly out to beautiful Santa Barbara, California to ride both the 2022 Harley Davidson Nightster and the 2022 Harley Davidson Lowrider ST. Today, we're just going to focus on the Nightster. However, if you'd like to know my thoughts on the Lowrider ST, stay tuned. Getting to represent the shop at this launch event was the absolute opportunity of a lifetime, and it was also simultaneously the hardest thing I've ever done. Why, you might ask? Because flying out to a dream destination to ride world-renowned motorcycles while getting to meet other cool content creators seems like a breeze. Until you factor in the fact that you're riding two bikes that you've never ridden before and retuning your brain to the sound of 2 cylinders rather than the 3 you typically hear. All while trying to film and be social and not be too starstruck because you're riding in a pack of some pretty big names. Be that as it may, I still had an absolute blast, not only because of all the aforementioned, but because I got to ride a universally awesome bike, the 2022 Harley Davidson Nightster. Are you as happy as I am? Because I'm giddy. I can't wait to ride this thing. We're going to be riding it all over Santa Barbara today. Okay, this is a dream come true. I don't know if you guys realize or not. This is a dream come true. I get to ride in California, maybe not on the Pacific Coast Highway, but I'm going to be close. This is a bucket list item for me. But enough about me. Let's talk about the bike. Some things you probably might already know, but I'll go ahead and reiterate for a baseline are that the Nightster is a lightweight cruiser with a 975cc liquid-cooled V-twin that can chug-a-lug down low, but is happiest when you're winding it out around 7,000 RPM. The seat is super low. There's a single disc up front. It's belt-driven for ease of maintenance. Once prepped and ready to ride, the 2022 Nightster weighs in around 481 pounds. What you think is a fuel tank is actually an air box, and where you would typically find an oil reservoir and frame is a subframe and fuel tank, which makes for an absolute weeble wobble. Put that all together and you had a platform that I would have no problem recommending to just about any rider. From start to finish, I had less than 12 hours with this bike, but in that time, I logged enough miles in various environments to solidify a well-defined mental image of the bike. Since moving down here and living in Georgia, I've found out that it's pretty normal to get into these weird situations where you have to turn off the SOP, the standard operating procedure side of your brain in order to quickly cobble together some combination of clutch and brake and throttle to keep the shiny side up, kind of like when you're on the hill. Luckily, the Nightster just took it all in stride because the friction zone was easy to find and it made maintaining 35 a breeze. Low speed handling was also no worries with the lightness of the bike, and for the few points that I did eventually put my feet down, to waddle the bike, forward, back, and back and in places, there were no issues to speak of. It was nice. After the in-town portion, we rode into the canyons for lunch, and I gotta say, I was feeling pretty big in my britches. During one of our briefings with the Harley team, it was mentioned that if you're a more spirited rider, which I typically would consider myself one of those, keeping towards the front of the pack would be something to consider. Dope, say less. And that's when I wrote a check my tuchus couldn't cash. I got right up front with Blockhead, and yeah. What was I thinking? I ride a naked bike. Completely different configuration. I'm not ready for faster problems like this. There comes a time in every rider's career when this exact situation arises, where you can either A, accept your transgressions and come what may, or B, surrender, take the hit to your pride, and live to ride another day. I took the hit to my pride, and here's why. It wasn't my bike. I got out of sorts. I most assuredly hurt somebody behind me, and I had somebody special waiting for me. 2 great puppers as well. So I fell back in the pack to assume my role as caboose. But try as I may, something just didn't feel right about the input that I was giving to how it translated to the bike. Like setting up for a corner, I didn't feel the right amount of resistance to giddy up. That perfect feel when you let off the throttle and the engine braking sets in, and then when you re-engage the throttle, you're met with the right amount of torque. Yeah, I didn't feel that. And the result was me feeling unsure about literally everything. In all honesty, it kind of put a damper on my day. So we stopped for lunch, and I was almost immediately approached by Harley contact and friend of the shop, Matt Swedland. Matt, along with a few other Harley team members, were right behind me, and I think it came as a surprise when I surrendered my spot at the front of the pack. Being the dope human being that he is, Matt asked me how I was feeling, and I was already prepping up my verbal version of the potty dance, the whole is. And before I got a chance to speak, Blockhead interjected, and he was like, don't sugarcoat it. It's like, tell me what you think. And so I spilled. I don't feel confident on the bike. It's not doing what I want. It makes me feel nervous. And you know what? It's not what I thought it was going to be. I kid you not, Matt just smiles, gives a little chuckle, and asks, where are you in the rev range? I have absolutely no idea what I'm spinning this motor up to. We talk a little more. He reminds me to keep it around the 7,000 range, which is absolutely screaming for a V-twin in my head. And he tells me to see how that changes things. Fast forward through lunch, one puffy GoPro battery later, and an overheard comment about only really needing second and third gear to make it up the hill. And I was more confident going into the second half of the day. We were going to blast through those canyons. There's a saying that goes, there are 2 wolves inside of you, good and bad, and most people will probably tell you to feed the good wolf. Hot take. Don't feed Balto. Nah. Feed that queen cuddled up next to Arya, Nymeria. From around the early 5,000 range to about past 7,000, there's a race bike beneath you. It was about this point that I was glad that I didn't let my ego get the better of me, and by deferring to responsible Trey, hooligan Trey got his time to shine. I was still in the back of the pack, but with each turn, I grew more and more comfortable. Then comfortable turned into confident. We did our filming up in the canyons and then proceeded to make our way back down in 2 separate groups. And wouldn't you know it, Matt was the one leading us back down to base. Best believe I made my way to the front of the line because I needed to prove to myself that I was just as capable of a rider as I thought I was. All signs were green. Responsible Trey signed off on the papers for FedEx Trey to send it, and we were off. And in the time it took to get out of the canyons, I lost a lot of past Trey who maybe didn't have so many nice things to say about the bar and shield. I don't typically share a whole lot of my personal life, but in this case, I think it'll help you see the full scope of my experience with the Nightster. This is my brother and I at my parents' house. I'm around 13, he's around 15, and those are my dad's Harleys. A blue FXC Super Glide from the AMF days, and an Ironhead Sportster, which just so happens to be the bike that Tim and I learned how to ride clutch on. I was born Harley, and I love the sound of potato, but I converted to Yamaha for the performance and rideability aspect. Harley just kind of lost their cool factor for a while. Like the C5 Corvette, nobody likes New Balances and dad had. Anyways, the Harleys I grew up around were heavy, carb-rated collector's items that you couldn't walk away from or even leave out of the fear that they might suddenly grow legs. Now that show and tell is over, I can say that I wish the 2022 Harley Davidson Nightster would have been the 2017 Harley Davidson Nightster. The 2022 Harley Davidson Nightster is not the kind of bike that I am used to, even though I've been around the block on more than a few cruisers now. And even though Harley isn't the first to have a liquid-cooled, lightweight cruiser, it felt like, well, home. A home that I like to share with that special someone I mentioned earlier, because she rides too. And I've been told on several occasions now that 250cc's is starting to feel a bit small. Will it be a big change going from a 250cc air-cooled thumper to a 975 V-twin? You bet. Probably just as big of a change as it will be for me coming from an unruly inline 3. But until we're both comfortable, we have rain mode. They've got us covered. And then there will be road mode. And I can't wait for the day to compare notes with her on sport mode. So, will I be getting rid of potentially 2 bikes? Yes. But I'll be getting 3 for the price of 1. I still have tons of thoughts on the 2022 Harley Davidson Nightster, but this video is already long enough as it is, and I was always taught to leave him wanting more. So that's what I'll do. Don't forget, Chase still needs to do a first ride on this thing, and he'll be able to sum up his thoughts on the bike in a much more concise way than I can. What up, Killer Creek Harley Davidson? We here, we waiting. Just let us know when you get one in. And shout out to the crew from Harley that made the event possible. Matt, Jen, Katie, Bob, Brian, Paul, Eric with an A. All y'all. I know I'm forgetting people. I told y'all, I'm bad with names. Y'all are some real ones, and I still can't believe I got the chance to break bread with you all. Also, thanks to Chase and Bo for advocating their chance to go to the launch and let me cut my teeth. I'm thankful for all you guys. So that about wraps it up. Did y'all like what I had to say? Did I ramble? I probably rambled, didn't I? If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and give a comment. Stop. Wait. Reverse that. You know what I mean. For all kinds of two-wheel content, consider subscribing and clicking the little bell icon, even though it may not actually work. Until next time, I'm producer Trey. This is Chase on Two Wheels. Thanks for watching. Alright, outro crew. Is it weird? Like, y'all tell me. Is it weird that I went from Harley to Yamaha and now I'm potentially going back to Harley? Like, I don't hate Yamaha, not by a country mile, but I'm big on sound, and the Rev Max at 7,000 RPM currently gives me more tingles than my CP3 at just about any RPM. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and maybe you'll see me on the next one. Cheers, y'all.